Welcome back to my channel. If you subscribed, thank you so much. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you do. If you watched my video last week, I did a video on Child Support 101. And in that video, I promised that I would do a separate video on what qualifies as income for a child support calculation in Florida. If you haven't watched that first video, I'm gonna link it below, so make sure you watch it after you watch this one. As a reminder, I only practice law in Florida. I'm licensed in other states, but I only practice law in Florida. Other states may have similarities to Florida law, but this is just Florida law. In the last video, we talked about how child support is calculated, and we discussed that income is one of the largest factors in a determination of child support. So what is income? And I'm actually gonna read all of the examples of what the Florida statute says are income, so I don't miss any. So the statute says that income shall be determined on a monthly basis for each parent as follows. Gross income shall include salary or wages, bonuses, commissions, allowances, overtime, tips. Business income from sources such as self-employment. Business income means gross receipts minus ordinary and necessary expenses. Disability benefits, workers' compensation benefits, reemployment assistance or unemployment compensation, pension, retirement, or annuity payments, Social Security benefits, spousal support received from a previous marriage or court ordered in the marriage before the court, interest and dividends, rental income, which is gross receipts minus ordinary and necessary expenses, income from royalties, trusts, or estates, reimbursed expenses or in-kind payments to the extent they reduce living expenses, and gains derived from dealings in property unless the gain is non-recurring. So that's a lot of examples of what is income. It's pretty much everything that goes in your pocket in Florida is considered income for purposes of a child support calculation. A lot of those items are obvious, right? Like salary or wages, interest and dividends, but I want to talk about some that are not so obvious. And there's a lot of rumors circulating about whether or not these things actually count as income. Some of those things are disability benefits. That's like the biggest one I hear. Like, disability benefits are not included as an income calculation in Florida child support. It is completely false. Disability benefits are included in a party's income. Spousal support received from a previous marriage or court ordered in the marriage before the court. That's an interesting one. So what that means is if you're receiving alimony and you're receiving alimony from your soon-to-be ex in the divorce and in front of the court in Florida, your alimony income counts as income towards your child support calculation. It also reduces the income for the payor spouse. And another one that is always a little interesting is reimbursed or in-kind expense payments to the extent that they reduce your living expense. Bad news for small business owners getting divorced. The law is on to us. Write-offs might reduce your income for purposes of the IRS and paying taxes. But in family court, those sneaky legislatures, they figured out that write-offs reduce the income for purposes of taxes, but they said, no, those things are still income for purposes of family law. In fact, on a financial affidavit that you have to fill out when you're getting divorced, one of the sections regarding income says, what are your monthly reimbursed expenses and in-kind payments to the extent that they reduce personal living expenses? You've got to total those up and you add them to your income. You can say things like, well, my business pays for my cell phone, so I'm going to call that as a deduction. Well, it's a deduction for the IRS, but for purposes of a child support calculation, the payment for your cell phone that your small business pays on your behalf is considered income for purposes of a Florida child support calculation. And that is because even though it is an expense for your business, it personally reduces your living expenses. So what is not considered income for purposes of calculating child support in Florida? Basically nothing. But there are some examples. One example is public assistance. An example of public assistance is temporary cash assistance or food assistance benefits received on behalf of a child under 18 years of age who has an absent parent. Those are not considered as income for purposes of calculating Florida child support. So now that we've discussed what is income, what happens when there isn't any income? There are a lot of instances in Florida where people don't participate in a child support case. They say, I'm not gonna produce my income source. People are underemployed or they're working under the table and it's just cash, so they say, I have no income. So in the state of Florida, you're not allowed to just be voluntarily underemployed for purposes of calculating child support. In Florida, if the unemployment is considered to be voluntary, meaning you could work, you just choose not to, the court can impute income to you. Imputation of income is basically when the court says, I'm gonna pretend you're making this much money. The court can impute income to you equivalent to the median income of year-round full-time workers as derived from current population reports or replacement reports published by the census. I just did a little Googling to find out what the actual number is for the median income of year-round full-time workers. And for the year 2024, the number is over $65,000 a year. If you decide not to participate in a child support case, you say, I'm not gonna produce my tax returns or my income stubs, or I don't have any income, the court can impute to you $65,000 or more. So if you make less than that, it benefits you to participate in the calculation of your child support. So I've done my best to summarize what is income and what is not income for purposes of a Florida child support calculation. There are caveats and exceptions all over the statute. So if you have a specific question that is factually specific to your life and your case, make sure you schedule a consultation with me so we can go through those intricacies together. I hope you found this video informative. I hope you learned something. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Next week, I am going to do a video on time-sharing schedules. Time-sharing is another huge factor in a child support calculation. My video is going to have some ideas of different time-sharing schedules based upon children's ages. And if you're in the future and this video is already on my channel, it should be linked down below.